The topic that I chose was family engagement, and I think this is super important when we think about being future teachers and something that we should prioritize within our classroom. So, first, I'm going to talk about why family engagement matters. Again, throughout all of these sections, it's just kind of like the key points and the big picture things that I found. Obviously, there is a lot more, and the list could go on and on. First is that it improves academic achievement. It also helps the students build stronger social skills, and it also increases students' confidence and motivation within the classroom, and then allows them to feel supported not only at school but at home. And then throughout my research, there were a lot of things that I found, and again, big picture things. First one being the more the parents are involved, the higher the students are able to achieve. And this came from one of the articles I read. And so there were studies done that showed the more that parents are involved, the higher and better that the students do. The second one is how quality matters more than quantity. And so even if you're talking to parents all the time, if it is not meaningful and intentional, then it doesn't do its job as it should be done. And we will talk about this later as well. Home plus school support is most effective, and so if you're just having home support or if you're just having school support, it's nowhere near as beneficial for the students as when home and school are working together. And then the last point that I have for this is that emotional support as a whole boosts learning and participation. And then, of course, as with all things, there are a lot of benefits and pros to this, but a lot of barriers come with that as well. And so, one being a language difference. So, our ELL families, if they can't speak English and they get newsletters or information or slips, whatever it may be, sent home in English, and they don't know how to read it and they don't have anybody around to help, then they're not going to have any idea what's going on. Another one is lack of time. And so this might be because of work schedules or if they have other kids, sporting events, anything that hinders their time and makes it hard to do those things. And then also if they're super busy at the end of the day, the last thing that they want to be doing is calling the teacher or helping their child at the end of a long work day and a long school day and making them do more things. Another one is limited understanding of the school system. This can kind of make parents shy away if they don't really know how it works or what's going on. And then also cultural differences or lack of inclusion. So if parents don't feel welcomed and they feel like outcasts, they are, of course, not going to want to be involved and engaged in their students' education. And then, again, kind of piggybacking off of some of the previous points, lack of confidence in helping with schoolwork can also be a barrier. And so, whether it be because times change, and so when the guardians or parents were in school, I know 100% sure that it's changed since when they were learning things. But then also if we do have our ELL families, they might not know any English or maybe just a little. And so with those, if parents don't know what to do, then how are they supposed to help their students, Now we're going to talk about what we as teachers can be doing within our classroom and school to be helping overcome these barriers and making family engagement easier, better, smoother. So the first thing is clear, consistent communication. Again, this goes back to quality over quantity. And so making sure that communication is clear and that you're doing it consistently, whether that be every week or however you do it in your classroom, just making sure that they know how it's set up, what to be looking for, when to be looking for it. And then this also includes translating when needed so that parents who don't speak English know what's going on, what events are coming up, what their child is doing, and all of those things. Another one is providing guidance for helping at home. And so not only telling parents what is going on in their child's life as far as like school and the classroom go, but showing them, giving them examples, models, whatever it may be, instructions on how to help their child. And so that's super important. Another one is creating welcoming events, whether that be family nights or students showcases. Again, this is more of a school-wide thing, so just maybe getting with your principal, putting some things in their ears, seeing if they can do it. But then also just on like a classroom level, making sure that parents always feel extremely involved and welcomed. Another one is using culturally responsive teaching practices so that nobody feels left out and they all feel welcomed, and they're able to feel safe in that space, whether it be your classroom or just reaching out to you. And the last one is encourage a supportive involvement, not control. And so just kind of taking that partnership with the parent and having the end goal of the student benefiting and succeeding. And then as I think about TSOE coursework and the connections between this and what we have learned, there are 4 big ones that I think kind of just make those connections well. And so the first one is differentiation. Again, obviously, I'm not differentiating work within this area, but differentiation focuses on meeting the diverse individual needs of students. And I think that goes hand in hand with making sure families are involved, because ultimately the end goal is for the student to succeed. And so, however they need that, it's our job as the teachers to make sure that those needs are being met. Another one is classroom environment. We've talked a lot about this in my classroom management class last semester. But just making sure you're building a supportive family-like community in classroom with your students so that they feel safe and are able to make mistakes and take risks and ask questions. Another one is collaboration, which we've talked a lot about in this class and many of my others. And so obviously in this, we're working with families as partners, so it's super important. And then again, just partnerships, supporting the ultimate goal of students succeeding. And then lastly, we have my biblical connections. And so the first verse was Deuteronomy 6:6-7. And so this just talks about teaching children in everyday life, which I think is important because this specifically family engagement is also not just, teaching science, social studies, math. It's building those relationships and learning how to communicate the way that works best for those individuals and being supportive and having those partnerships. And so it's a good example and model for students as well. And then the second verse that I picked was Proverbs 22:6. And so it just talks about guiding children in the right way. And so again, we are obviously teaching students, and specifically with this, we're showing them how to communicate well, and work through barriers and all of those things. And then overall, I think the Bible has just a lot of themes that we can connect back to this idea of family engagement, and those include emphasizing a partnership between the home and school and like just community in general. The Bible is big on leaning on others and having people in a community to fall back on. And then also just like responsibility and care. Again, with this idea of family engagement, we're thinking about the students and what they need and what is best for them, and for a successful outcome. And so I think the Bible really hones in on caring for others and being servants. And so I think that can really show how important family engagement is, and we can connect that well to there. So that is all that I have. I think I've learned throughout this research that family engagement is super important and really does affect the student a lot. And it might seem small, and there's teachers who might just send a little letter home every week, but truly getting parents involved and knowing that they are part of their students' education, and also finding ways to help them help their child, can be extremely beneficial.